Okay, this is all about what is going on with Brandy Glanville and Caroline Manzo. So as we all know, Brandy either sent some type of lawsuit or demand letter or some legal mumbo jumbo something to Bravo and NBC trying to either sue them or threatening to sue them over discrimination about her drinking, about, SA claims, not being, blacklisted because of everything that happened with Caroline at the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Morocco. We also know that Caroline Manzo is also suing Bravo and NBC for putting her in a sexually dangerous situation with Brandy. She said Brandy was really drunk. She was groping her and touching her, putting her tongue down her throat, touching her private parts, all of this stuff, basically saying that she was SA'd and that production didn't step in, didn't help her, and didn't protect her and created that environment for her to be violated, right? So that's kind of where both of these people stand. Now, all of a sudden, it's being out that the Bravo producer, allegedly a Bravo producer, is coming out and saying, oh no, Brandy didn't do that to Caroline. She was disrespectful, but she did not assault her. And Brandy's like, I'm pissed. Now you're vindicating me, but why wouldn't you vindicate me 15 months ago? What is going on? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. I'm going to get into the article that breaks it all down, and then I'm going to tell you what I think the truth of what is actually going on here, which I think is going to make a lot of sense. I don't think it's really about Brandy being vindicated. I think it's really about something else. So let's get into it. So this is from page 6. It says, the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip executive producer claims Brandy Glanville disrespected Caroline Manzo, but didn't sexually violate her. An executive producer of the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip claims in new court documents that Caroline Manzo felt disrespected by Brandy, but wasn't sexually violated by her. As page 6 previously reported, the Real Housewives of New Jersey alum sued Bravo and Peacock earlier this year, claiming the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills alum harassed her and kissed her without consent at the behest of production while they filmed in Morocco. Manzo also claimed in court documents that Glanville 51 then proceeded to mount Manzo on the couch, holding Manzo down with her body, forcibly squeezed Manzo's cheeks together, and thrust her tongue in Manzo's mouth while humping her. Personally, that goes beyond disrespect, and that is a sexual violation, in my personal opinion. What do you guys think? In the new court documents filed in response to Manzo's lawsuit, Lisa Shannon claims Manzo told production at the time that Glanville's alleged actions that evening had triggered memories of her past childhood trauma, but didn't mention an assault. Lisa Shannon, you need to shut up, because what normal human being does not understand that if someone says a person holding me down, humping my body, touching my private sexual parts, and forcing their tongue down my throat triggers a childhood trauma, are they not talking about some type of sexually violating assault? What did you think she meant? One day that her parent forgot to pick her up from soccer practice? What, you know what I mean? Like, what type of childhood trauma did you think she was referring to, given that situation? Like, it's disgusting to me. And I'm going to tell you what I really think is going on here. Our primary concern at that point was making sure that Manzo felt safe, read the documents obtained by page 6. She told us that she felt safe, that she wanted to continue to film, and that she did not want Glanville to be sent home. Shannon then claims Manzo was not left alone with Glanville that evening, and the following morning, Manzo told Shannon and other production members that she still felt safe and wanted to continue filming the reality series. Now, obviously, I wasn't there, and these are court documents, but people lie all the time. I kind of feel like they're lying, because Caroline Manzo did end up leaving filming, and she did not want to continue. And wasn't it already said by both Brandy and Caroline that they were separated? And the reason why we know that they were separated wasn't another executive from Peacock, I think it was, got mad at Brandy because then she was like really drunk and she was like, you tried to kiss me or something like that. Something very inappropriate to also a producer, and they got really mad at her. So I don't know. I don't know. In a conversation with Lisa Shannon, which has been reenacted in the documents, Manzo reportedly told her, listen, I feel safe. Okay, I feel your support. This is for me. I'm dealing with something that has been buried deep down in my soul for 50 years. Again, if someone says something has been buried in their soul for 50 years and you didn't put it together what type of childhood trauma that was, come on. The documents also note that following Glanville's incident with Manzo, production ceased including Glanville in group activities. However, other cast members, including Fedra Parks, allegedly perceived the events differently. All of us thought we were having fun, Parks purportedly told Manzo. No one knew about whatever has happened to you in the past. Phaedra, you need to just pipe down and stay out of the conversation, especially with the reason why you got fired from Bravo in the first place. Lying on Candy, saying that she was going to sexually assault people without their consent. That's why you got fired, saying she had a dungeon in her basement and that she was going to drug Portia. So you might want to like gracefully bow out of this conversation. Stay cute on Traitors. That was your lane. Stay in your lane. But this particular lane isn't it for you, Phaedra. Because at the end of the day, I wonder how Phaedra would feel if someone was wasted, pinning her down on the ground or on the wall, groping her private sexual parts, and forcing their tongue down her throat. I wonder how Phaedra would feel if it was her. So you can't say we're all just having fun when it's not happening to you. It's one thing if you guys are just sitting around chopping it up and shading each other and somebody gets offended by something somebody says because of a memory of their past. Okay, fine. But when somebody is sticking their tongue down somebody's throat, pinning them down and touching their private parts, you just need to keep your mouth shut because you don't know how that feels for that person physically going through that. So Phaedra, stay in your Traitor's lane, bow to this conversation. That's why you got fired in the first place. If I were you, keep your comments to yourself. Lisa Shannon also claims Manzo flew home from Morocco because the rest of the cast informed Manzo in a group text that they were going to visit the fans-only star at her hotel, which was the only time Manzo allegedly asked not to be filmed. At that time, she asked the production crew not to film her, and we honored that request, Shannon writes in the documents. Other than that incident, Manzo never asked not to be filmed or expressed to me or to my knowledge anyone else from production that she was uncomfortable being filmed, she continues, noting that Manzo willingly allowed production to film her, discussing her decision to depart the trip. This is a problem with this. I'm not a lawyer, but this is what I would argue back. They're conflating two separate issues. Manzo is not suing NBC and Bravo because they filmed her. Manzo is suing NBC and Bravo because they facilitated an environment where she felt sexually assaulted. Those are two separate things. So the fact that this executive, Lisa Shannon, keeps harping on the fact that Manzo was okay with being filmed, to me is a misdirect because that has nothing to do with the lawsuit. If Caroline was suing because she felt that she was filmed without consent, then sure, all day long but that's not why she's suing you. She's suing you because on the job, she was pinned down, touched inappropriately, and had somebody shove their tongue down her throat. That's why she's suing you. Assuming these allegations are true. Because remember, it hasn't gone through the court of law. These are allegations. So if these allegations are true, that is why she's suing you, not because you filmed her. So the issue of her still being filmed has nothing to do with whether or not she was assaulted. So to me, what I really think is going on here, because now Brandy's all like, I'm vindicated. Why did it take you guys 15 months? Brandy, you're not vindicated. Bravo and NBC are just covering their own butts. That is what is really happening here, in my opinion. This is not a vindication of Brandi Glanville. This is Bravo and NBC and Shed Media. I think it's Shed Media or whatever production company it is. Peacock. This is them covering themselves in this lawsuit. That's all it is. This is not a vindication of Brandi Glanville. Because if it was a vindication of Brandi Glanville, then how come Bravo sent you home as well? Or Bravo, NBC, Peacock, whatever it was, the production team. I'll always say production as a catch-all for NBC, Bravo, Peacock, all of it. How come production sent you home if they felt that you only disrespected her, but you didn't actually violate her? Because literally, if they're going to send people home for disrespecting people, there would be no show ever, because it's literally 45 minutes of people disrespecting each other, shading each other, yelling at each other, and fighting with each other, right? So they're not going to send you home because you simply disrespected her. They also are not going to scratch the entire season of Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Morocco. Like, they are not even showing the season because you disrespected her. They are not, in her words, blackballing her, because I don't think Brandy will ever work again with them, because you disrespected her. Clearly something really went down for them to, not just for Brandy, but for them to take the financial loss, because they filmed the season of Morocco. They filmed it. That's paying cast, that's paying crew, that's paying location, they're going to take the financial loss for an entire season that they filmed. I don't know how much they're going to be paid. I'm sure they got probably some type of retainer, not the entire amount because it's never going to air. But these corporations are only taking a financial loss in order to not take an even bigger one. And by even bigger would be actually airing what happened and having a bigger lawsuit on their hands, or having more things be exposed. So they'll take that initial loss of not airing it only because it's going to save them from a bigger financial loss. They're not going to scrap an entire season that they filmed simply because Brandi Glanville disrespected Caroline Manzo. Does not make any sense. This is not a vindication of Brandi Glanville. This is production and the executives and the corporate people that be trying to get Caroline's lawsuit dismissed, because they can't come out and say, yes, Brandi did assault her. Because if they come out and say that, then clearly they're going to be held liable. And clearly they're going to have to pay Caroline. And clearly that will give credence to the 1,000 other lawsuits they have against them. So not only will it give credence to all the other ones they already have, but it might open the floodgates for even more people to come forward. Right? So to me, Bravo, NBC, Peacock, Shed Media, with all of this coming out, them with their whole court statement and all of this, to me, it makes them look even more guilty. Like, they should have just quietly gave Caroline some settlement and just let this fade on out. But anybody who has common sense, and I mean this respectfully, you don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to have a college degree. You don't have to have any of that. If you just have basic common sense, this is clearly them trying to cover their butts. They don't care about Brandi Glanville. This is not a vindication for her. This is them trying to cover their butts with this lawsuit. It's absolutely crazy. Absolutely, absolutely crazy. So there is that. SD Cavern says, Brandi allegedly asked Caroline about Dina, and Caroline badmouthed her, so she doesn't want any of it aired. No, I heard that rumor too, but let's think about that, right? When has Bravo or NBC Because again, we have to think about the fact that they scrapped the entire season. When have they ever, or and Peacock, because it's on Peacock, I think, right? So Peacock, Peacock, NBC. When have they ever scrapped an entire season just because someone didn't want what they said aired? Think about all the things that have happened in Bravo history, Peacock history. Kyle calling her sister an alcoholic, Taylor talking about her husband being physically abusive to her, Phaedra accusing Candy of drugging people and putting them in their basement. There's been so many things about people's lives, Tom Girardi and Erica Girardi fraud cases, Jen Shaw and her fraud cases. There's been so many people that have had really big things happening that just because they say, I don't want this aired, they still air it. So I don't think that Caroline may not want what she said aired, but I don't think that would make NBC Universal take a huge financial hit. And again, Caroline is not suing them over airing some dirty laundry. She's suing them for what Brandy allegedly did to her. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know. I think that that's just sort of like another red herring out there to sort of like divert what's really going on, if that makes any sense. She says, well, if there's a lawsuit, they won't air it. No, that's not true. That's not true. They could have easily aired this season, because she's not suing about what she said. She's suing about what happened to her. And she sued way later. They could easily have aired it. Easily have aired it. Because if she's suing over that just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any rational, logical sense, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense. I think it may or may not be true, but I think it's a big red herring, if that makes sense. Because they're trying to conflate two things that like don't really work together. Let me know if that makes sense. But I did hear, but SJ, I did hear that rumor too. So you're correct. I did hear that rumor too, saying that's why she doesn't want it aired. But if that was the case, then you would sue Bravo. Or sorry, I keep saying Bravo because it just like rolls off the tongue, but NBC Peacock, you would sue them because you would want a gag order saying you can't air this, you can't do that. She's not suing them and saying you can't air the footage. She's suing them and saying you created this environment for me. So again, it doesn't make sense, because she could sue them for, putting her in this hard or, dangerous environment, and they could still air the footage, So there is that. But I want to know what you guys think. What do you think about Brandy basically essentially now being canceled from Bravo, NBC, Peacock, and all of that? She was supposed to be, I actually think she was supposed to be like a friend, not like a friend of, but at least do some of those cameos that Denise was doing and Camille was doing on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. That got scrapped. She was also supposed to, I think, co-host with Kate Chastain, her sort of like, TV People's Couch type show that Kate has on Peacock. She now does it with the captain. But I think Kate and Brandy were supposed to do it because they were such a cute duo on Traders. That got scrapped too. So clearly Brandy's been ousted from NBC and all of that after what happened in Morocco, because Brandy was kind of having a comeback. She did a great job on Traders. They put her on Ultimate Girls Trip. This was her second trip. So she was really making a comeback. They're not going, and that's another reason why I don't believe the whole thing about the Dina rumor, because why would NBC blackball Brandy over something that Caroline said about Dina? You know what I mean? So that's another reason. And SJ says, I'm no fan of Brandy, but I think she's disgusting. I'm just going to all angles. No, I agree. And thank you for bringing up that rumor. No, I agree, because it's good to look at all angles. So I appreciate you bringing that up. But again, why would Brandy be blackballed from NBC because Caroline doesn't want what she said about Dina aired? You see what I'm saying? And I get that Dina's case against, is it still ongoing? I think it had a resolution. Dina's case against, I think that's been resolved. I could be wrong, but I think it is. But again, why would NBC blackball Brandy because of that? If that was the core issue going on, then NBC would blackball Caroline for not allowing them to air what she said about Dina. Why would they blackball Brandy? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I think that could be true of what happened, but I don't think that's what's going on with why Caroline is suing them, why Brandy has been blackballed, why NBC is not airing an entire season that they already paid for, and why they are clearly being very shifty in their court responses, you know? So that's kind of where I land on that. But I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below. And before you do that, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. So with that, talking about Bravo and NBC lawsuits, let's add another